Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the ANEC Sports Podcast. My name is Sam Frick, founder and editor at Around the Northeast Corner, and today is a monumental day for the history of the Around the Northeast Corner. The very first episode of the ANEC Sports Podcast premieres today. We are recording at 5:35 p.m. on Sunday, July 21st. You will probably see this video on a later day, but just want to let you know ahead of time that we are recording ahead of time for the premiere of the show, as well as every show of the next several weeks. On this next episode, we will be talking to two volleyball coaches, as well as the head football coach as well. We will begin by talking with Brian Harris, the head girls volleyball coach at Angola. He's heading his first year with the Hornets after a successful long stint under the administration of Lloyd Ball, and now it will be Brian Harris taking over a very successful and consistently powerful program in Angola. We will then talk with Cory Stoner, the head football coach of the Fairfield Falcons, followed by the head girls volleyball coach at Bellmont, Krull, which was originally supposed to be Alex Stewart, the head football coach at East Snowball, but unfortunately some scheduling changes and for many reasons um, beyond Stewart's ability to be able to come on tonight, he was unable to attend this week's episode, as he notified me earlier today. So Craig Krull will take that spot for this episode. Coming up, I will be discussing with Brian Harris about the start of his first season in Angola. I'm here with the head girls volleyball coach of the Angola Hornets, Brian Harris. Brian, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Sam. I certainly appreciate you having me. And first, I appreciate everything you do for the community, the area, and it just means a lot. So this is awesome that you're expanding into this. So excited to do this with you.
Appreciate it. First off, Brian, before we get started, let's talk about your background into volleyball, because you got a very expansive family into the sport. Why are you so invested in this sport so much? What got you there?
Yeah, yeah, pretty interesting. So um, with volleyball back in high school, playing was a three sport athlete in high school. Decided not to play baseball in high school and decided I'd play volleyball as my sister did. So got involved playing. Got through the travel ranks, then ended up playing at IPFW for 4 years. Started coaching right after I graduated from high school. So I've been in the sport ever since. My wife has been in volleyball as well. Have 3 daughters, so kind of a path for them to continue on in volleyball. So just kept coaching and been involved ever since. So it's been a long a long time, but a rewarding time just to see from where I started to where my own kids are at right now and the people that I've coached.
Curious for those that don't know you, what position did you play in college?
I was a setter, and then also played a bit in the back row as well. So it was a kind of a mix, but mostly focused in on setting and playing defense.
Gotcha. So now let's kind of talk a little about the Angola job. When you found out about the opening in Angola, and obviously it was going to be a tough shoes to fill with Lloyd Ball being as successful of a volleyball coach, let alone a volleyball athlete that he is around this area. What got you to take this job?
Well, I think just the involvement that I've had with the community thus far. When my oldest daughter Bria was heading into high school, that's when we moved up to Angola to be a part of the program with 2 other daughters, now a senior and a junior this upcoming year, and a lot of their friends participating in volleyball. Just it was a good opportunity for me to step up and continue to stay involved. And really help the program continue the program and the success that we've had over the last few years.
Now you have Bria Harris, and then you have Ava, and then Maya Harris as well. For those that don't know these kids, what makes these kids unique to you, based on you being the dad and now the volleyball coach?
It's an interesting dynamic, being coach and dad. My wife is going to join the staff here this year as well, and she's coached them also from a young age. So it's fun because you're involved with them, but it can also be challenging because you got to draw that line between dad and coach and mom and coach, and it makes for some interesting car rides with the girls when they're all playing on the same team. They played on the same travel team, and so there's a little competitive edge that kind of comes out every once in a while. But they're motivated kids, and in the end, they want to be good teammates. They're interested in continuing to learn and get better. And it's just been a great process and dynamic for our household to be involved with them and be with them every step of the way.
So the last two seasons, this program went 64-3. Obviously, they've won multiple conference championships. Only 1 year they in the Lloyd Ball area that they did not win a conference championship in 2020. Your team won a sectional, came very close to winning regional multiple times, came up just short. So you graduated. Obviously, Morgan Gardy's going to Notre Dame. Maya Ball is going to UCF. You graduated Macy Oberlin. You graduated several other kids as well. But you got some kids, in their juniors, sophomore years, maybe some freshmen coming in the fold that are very talented in their own right. I look at a girl like Bailey Holman as an example. I look at Anna McClure being another example as well in the back row. For those that don't know this program, who are some kids that you have liked so far that you're expecting a big year?
Yeah, you make a good point. Those kids, those seniors that we lost last year, are going to be hard to replace. They've contributed quite a bit to the program, but we got some other girls. I think they're ready to step up and take a larger part, a larger role. So you mentioned Bailey Holman, who's played middle for us the last few years and has that varsity experience. Just a long, athletic kid that can take up a lot of space in the middle. So I like what I've seen from her and her leadership. She's really stepped up as a senior. You talk about Lexi Stillman, who's another just athletic kid who just has bought in so far the things we've done in the summer. Probably more a little focused in on basketball, but it's kind of stepping into summer workouts and stuff we've done. That she's really taken the kind of a leadership role as well. And then Anna McClure, she's been solid in the back row for us the last few years. Last year as libero, this year kind of expect that same type of thing. So there's some leadership there from our seniors. We'll have some juniors, I think, that can really step in and help us as well and contribute. Maddie Conrad, Aspen Sutton, Savannah Bixler. We've got some big kids. You talk about Savannah, Lexi, Bailey, Ava, Maya. Then you look at Kenzie Barron, who's a sophomore coming up. She's got to get a little more experience for us, but she's put in a lot of work in the off season. Then we've got some freshmen too. I think that could step up and potentially contribute at some point. Bailey's sister Kendall Holman. I mean, she's 6'2", long, athletic. Just hasn't played a lot of volleyball. So someone that we're just gonna have to continue to train and work with. Paige Schneider, Callie Hamilton, Chloe, just some other freshmen, and we got a lot of other kids too. I think that can step up and really contribute this year. So there's a lot of kids. They're gonna have to earn it, and we just got a good mix of kids that I think are athletic, and just got to figure out a role for them and see how they can contribute for us.
Look at the overarching picture of the program. How nice is it to have Team Pineapple right there in your neighborhood in Angola to develop the talent for the long pitcher, especially with your program, with the Angola program transitioning away from the Lloyd Ball era, and now with you being the head coach? How important is it to still have some of Lloyd's connections with the AAU program?
Yeah, it's important. It's gotten tougher, I think, a little over the years. Some of these kids I mentioned, like an Anna and Alexi and Bailey, that have played club in the past are not playing just because they're multi-sport athletes. But some of the younger kids that are coming up with the freshmen, it's important. It's tough. I mean, costs are a challenge. The amount of time and investment that it takes, especially when you're dealing with a lot of these kids that are multi-sport athletes. But obviously, the more reps they can get, regardless of where that's at, is very important. So having that influence there is big. And we're kind of in a mindset right now where some of these kids that maybe aren't playing club anymore, we're not necessarily looking to practice. We're looking to train. We've got to get a lot of reps. We got to train these kids and get them back in the groove, because some of them haven't touched volleyball since since last fall. When we were coming to summer training. So it's a big impact for a lot of the younger kids to develop a base and fundamentals. But certainly something we need to kind of look at when we're dealing with a lot of these multi-sport kids.
Fair enough. Going back to the team real quick, obviously you're going to have a difficult schedule because of Class 3A being as difficult as you always play in the hardest sectional in the state of Indiana. At least a lot of people claim it to be that way, and it's probably going to be even
Yeah.
tougher, I would argue, with the way it's restructured the four-class state tournament, with a lot of the 4A schools moving down to 3A. So it's going to get a lot of tougher for your program in terms of postseason. But in terms of the team as a whole, you mentioned some of the strengths. What are some things you talked about getting reps, but maybe more specifically with the volleyball aspects of things? What are some things you're looking to get better as you get ready for the season starting? Which I believe you're playing Bishop Dwayner. I think the second match of the season.
Yeah, it's a tough match, the second match of the season. But that's a great question because, having been involved with the program now, this will be my, I guess, sixth year now, first as a head coach. But you know, the gauntlet that we kind of go through at sectional level. We've hit a road bump every year, and that's at regional. And you look at those teams that we've lost to, especially the Bellmonts of the world. We've always had the kids that can put a ball away. We've always been more physical than other teams and probably bigger. The part that I feel like we've not necessarily lacked at, but have been behind with the Belmonts is the defensive, the passing, the ball control. When it came down to regional time, especially last year, I mean, we did everything we could do to put the ball down on the floor, but they didn't let it drop and they kept coming back. So I think that's something we really got to be good at this year, where we don't have a Morgan that we can throw the ball up to, and she can put it away from anywhere standing at 6'4". We're going to have to be very disciplined in our approach as far as first ball contact, serve receive. We have to be really good in that area, but then also be very scrappy and disciplined in defense, where we just aren't going to be able to put the ball away necessarily as well as we have, I think, at least early on in the season. So putting a focus in on that area, and I think we've got one of the best. I know I'll brag on my wife. She is a ball control coach that she drills it into the kids. She's probably the best coach around, passing, defense. So early on here through summer gym, she's really taken our back row and some of our players that need some more reps in that area and focus there. So we're putting an emphasis there as we head into the season when we have to play the Dwangers, because a lot of teams have lost some key pieces, and everyone's going to have a few here and there that can put a ball away and compete and contend with. But where it's going to be won and lost is whether who can control the ball and not let the ball hit the floor, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Coming down to little things as usual. And
Yeah.
Belmont always seems to always find players every year. It feels like not too long ago they were losing a lot of players, and then lo and behold, another large class comes up and they go on 3 straight state finals appearances. It seems like it's just
Yeah,
that program there is just tremendous.
Yeah, it's a tough thing because through through club and travel and the pineapple and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of girls that we've all coached. So it's great to see that. But when they're on the other end of the floor, on the other team now, it's a tough thing to swallow when you see that. So it's a point of emphasis, and I think that's something that we just need to emphasize more. And still, there's a need to be physical and need to put a ball away, but we have to be disciplined and not let the ball hit the floor on our side, and that's what we're going to try and do and be better at.
Final question from me. First practice is going to be, I believe, in 2 weeks. I believe so. Obviously, you're getting that calendar marked, and it's coming. The first official practice with this team, new era for Angola volleyball, basically a new team for the most part. You being the first varsity head coaching season for you. What are some things you're excited about that first practice and getting to know the team a little bit more on a frequent basis?
Yeah, I think it's just it's exciting time for everyone. We're going to have essentially a whole new staff. I've got, like I said, my wife Lisa Harris is an assistant, Holly Kubizak, who's a teacher on staff who's got some experience coaching volleyball and travel club. Lindsay Call, who was a former player at Angola, is going to help us out. And then Rachel Chard, who is a former Concordia player who played for a state championship, won a state championship, I believe, at Concordia years ago. So we've got all new faces. We've got some new kids that are coming out who didn't play as freshmen, who are now going to play as sophomores. So there's just a different feel around the gym. Like like I said, our focus is not necessarily, hey, we're coming in practice and rolling the ball out, and we're trying to train these kids in movement, and contact and technique and all that type of stuff. We gotta take a new approach. We've had a luxury. We've had a lot of good kids that played a lot of good volleyball over the years, and so excited to learn about these kids and see how we can help them, and progress. And like I said, continue the success we've had at Angola, because Angola done a great job, and we want to continue that. But I think it's going to have to be done in a slightly different way than it's been done in the past.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, final thoughts?
Well, we're just real excited. Like I said, we started open gyms back in May, and that's another thing we hadn't really necessarily done in the past, just because we've had a lot of kids that have played volleyball. So we've gotten started a little bit earlier. We're just really excited, and it's hard to believe that August 5th is our first official date. That's creeping up on us here. We had a training scrimmage at Empowered Volleyball Club this past week, where we took a team down there and just put kids in all different positions. And I saw a lot of really good things, and I saw some things that didn't look so good. But credit to the kids. We put them all in different places, moved them around. Most important part for me was that they competed. They played hard. They competed. They played with each other, played for each other, played with some excitement. The technique and the form and the results and stuff will come if they continue to do that. So we're excited about it. I appreciate the opportunity that I've been given by our AD Steve Lance, and just want to do the best job we can here, and see what we can do and accomplish here this year.
Well, Coach, I know you've been a very busy man these days, especially with your kids, their practice and getting ready for the season. So, thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to talk about your team, and best of luck in the 2024 campaign.
Sam, I really appreciate it. Again, I think it's awesome what you do. I know sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do, but you do a great job covering all the sports in the area. So it's certainly something that we look forward to and appreciate, I know, from our neck of the woods. So thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm here with the head football coach of the Fairfield Falcons, Cory Stoner. And Cory, it looks like you're enjoying your summer quite well. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's summertime's always great. I got 4 little kids and a lovely wife, so we try and spend some time together. We actually got away for the first time this summer and went camping a little bit this weekend, and so just literally got back within the hour. So we're trying to unpack and get settled back into normal life.
Don't we ever? Cory, before we talk about your team, just kind of talk a little bit about yourself and your passion for football and for coaching.
Sure. So I'm a Mishawaka product. I born and raised in Mishawaka, went to Mishawaka High School, played for Jim Aldridge and Bart Curtis's first year was my senior year. So I got to play 1 year for him and just learned so much about the game of football, and the drive and the passion, I think, really started then. I love all sports, really. I decided to go play baseball in college, and don't regret that decision at all. Had a blast doing that. Met some great people, including J.J. Du Bois, who his dad was the superintendent at Jimtown, which helped me get my job at Jimtown. And I loved my time there. And honestly, meeting guys like Ned Cook and Gene Johnson and Bill Sharp really is where my love for football truly fell into place, and seeing it more than just as a fan. I think up until that point, I had just watched and enjoyed watching football games and the flow and the excitement. But when you're around those guys, Ned's one of the greatest football minds that has coached here in Indiana, period, whether a head coach or an assistant coach. And Bill Sharp obviously speaks for himself. And so when you're around those guys, I think the passion kind of rubs off on you. And once you're a part of that, it's hard to get rid of.
So last time you coached at Jimtown, you played against the Fairfield Falcons, and now you are the head coach at Fairfield. What was so interesting about that Fairfield job when considering the opening in Benton?
Sure. Really, there was a couple factors that went into it. First of all, my wife's family is from Fairfield. She graduated from Fairfield in 2009. Her whole family went to Fairfield, and they lovingly embraced me for the 11 years I was at Jimtown, even though there was plenty of pokes and prods along the way there. The job came open before Coach Thacker took it, and there were more pokes and prods, and then the timing wasn't right. And the second time around with the job coming open, and my wife being from here and our kids at the age that they were at, we just felt like that part of it was the right time. And from the outside looking in, when you're looking at Fairfield and everything that they're doing, they're investing into athletics. Just built the new weight room, is absolutely amazing. Indoor half track to use, and they're talking about the athletics center, and you can just tell from the outside that athletics are important to them, and that was very enticing.
And it's a school that's also won a couple state championships. You look at the girls basketball team winning a couple years ago against Corden Central. That was a team with Brody Garber invested a very good program there at Fairfield. The last year, boys basketball going all the way to semi-state. So you know what you're talking about when you took in that job with the Fairfield Falcons, the athletes over there in that Goshen area. So
yeah. You feel like it's really trending the right direction, and obviously you want to be a part of that. You mentioned Brody Garber, just one of the staples of Fairfield's community here. Has been incredibly supportive, and I'm excited to work alongside with him.
Looking at the team itself, Matt Thacker left with a very good product with Fairfield. This was a team that was rebuilding when he first came in, left it much more competitive, and a team that's been kind of on the knocking on the door for some championship hardware. They were 6-5 last season. You graduated some kids, including the Hostetler kid, who was an all-state lineman on both ends for Fairfield. But you're returning a lot of guys that can play both ways, including a guy like Brecken Maryland. You got, I believe it's Eli Metzger, I believe it plays in special teams a variety of different ways for your team. I think you return your quarterback back. So you got a lot of experience to work with this team. What are some first things that jump out to you about this team?
Got a great senior class that wants to win and is willing to do so far what it takes to win. And you can tell that that's important to them. You mentioned all the pieces that are coming back. There's ton of experience there on both sides coming back, and at key positions. You mentioned Brecken at fullback, Brooks Custer at quarterback, Blake Metzger at tailback, Casey Hirschberger at split end wide receiver. Those are obviously key positions, but then the offensive line as well. The pieces are all still there. Evan Johnson at tackle played last season. David Almaray, who'll be a junior, he played all last season. Aldair Ortiz, all those kids played last year. So there's tons of pieces that are there to build with, and then some exciting young guys that are competing for positions as well. And so I would say outside of, the talent and all of that speaks for itself. I'm just excited to be around this group of seniors that wants to win so bad. And they know that this is it and this is their shot at it. Got great leadership from guys like Brooke Custer laying it all on the line. And that's rubbing off on the other kids quite nicely.
Your schedule is going to be a good testament for your team's competitive edge. You're starting your season going to Goshen, I believe, and you're hosting Heritage for your home opener. And then you got Jimtown added to your schedule this season, your old school, and playing against Culver Academies for you open divisional play in the NECC, playing against rival West Noble. Just talk about what are some things you want to do to get off to a good start in that in that schedule, because those first 4 weeks are really going to be a big test for your team early.
Yeah, Coach Thacker did an amazing job with really everything with the football program. Obviously, the kids and like you said, rebuilding the program from pretty much nothing there when he first started to great heights now. But a part of that is pieces like the schedule, that things that people don't maybe think about. He did a great job of building balance into it. I inherited the schedule, but I love it. All the different pieces that you want to see throughout the year, you're going to see, and really early on. Weeks 1, 2, and 3 are going to be against new coaches, first-year coaches, but you kind of know what product you're going to get there and get a little spread when you play Goshen, it sounds like, and Jimtown's going to come at you, and so you get those different elements that you want to see, and hopefully reveal those different kinks in the armor that you as a coach want to correct before you get into postseason play. And then you speak of the NECC, the conference is as competitive as it's ever been. And really in any sport, take your pick at the sport, but especially in football, has grown leaps and bounds and has gained respect outside of just the conference itself. Obviously coming from Jimtown, that's outside the NECC, that those schools have really garnered a lot of due respect. And so it's going to be a battle each week for that conference play, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Looking at Fairfield on paper, it seems like this team is going to have a relatively similar identity to what you've coached in the past at Jimtown. What should we expect of this team with you being the coach this year at Fairfield? And what are some things you're hoping to improve on as you get closer to the first practices and getting closer to the start of the season?
Yeah, so I mean, regardless of what we do offensively and defensively, schematically, my big thing is putting a product on the field that the community can be excited about, that the community can embrace, that the community feels like represents them, because that's what we're doing. We're taking the product of the community, and so you're going to see hard-nosed, gritty. You're going to see physical, and hopefully as time comes, we build more and more discipline into all of that. Those are all going to be the big key elements of what we do with what is Fairfield football. Schematically, there will be changes, and having a great senior class that we have right now, that's been critical to them embracing it and learning a new system, that they were just a part of a new system a few years back for them. And so they're believing in that system, and that was a big part of the summer, and they got to see some of that success here as we've scrimmaged and competed a little bit. And we are excited to be a part of this community and to put a product on the field that the community can be proud of.
Well, I guess my last question to you is when things get rolling for the first practices and whatnot, like what's the one thing you're most looking forward to your first year at Fairfield? Obviously, you've been coaching football before, so this is nothing too different for you in terms of you being as a coach in general. But what are you most excited about with Fairfield? You mentioned a little bit about the community part. What are you most looking forward to about the first practices and getting ready for the start of the season with this a new journey for you and your family?
Yeah, everything's new. Everything's new, Sam. When I was a first-year coach at Jimtown, it wasn't all new. I had been exposed to all of that, and my family had lived in the community. We knew the people that you needed to know and all of that. Everything's new over here. Everything's new for myself. Everything's new for the kids. And so that, I think, brings out the best in you. And is it scary? Is it challenging? Absolutely. But I also think it's bringing out it's making me a better coach and hopefully a better man, and hopefully the same on their end. The part that I'm most excited about is just getting to that first Friday night and putting into the work and the process of getting there. And it all culminates, it seems like, on that first Friday night. You've had all these summer practices. You've been out in the heat. You've had good practices. We'll have bad practices along the way. And then you kind of finally get to that culminating moment where you're taking the field and you're playing against the Goshen Redhawks at Fairfield, and people are in the stands and you can smell the concession stand and the band's playing. That's exciting, but we've got a long way to go. We've got a lot that we've got to improve upon, and we know that. But the most exciting thing is that the kids know that, and they want to get better, and they want to do more, and they want to do things that hasn't been done at Fairfield. Really at all. Won sectional championship in previous years, and been a while since competed for winning the conference. And so we want to do all those things, but we know it all starts with one step at a time and one practice and one game at a time, and getting a little bit better throughout the season.
Last conference championship coming in 2021. So been a couple years, but the success has been there before for the program. But obviously, new excitement for the whole community as a whole. Coach, final question before we any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, I just appreciate all that you do. Thanks for having me on. It's quite the honor. Excited to be in this area and get to work alongside you, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Coach. I'm here with the head girls volleyball coach of the Bellmont Braves, Craig Krull. And Craig, it's been an interesting offseason for your team and obviously a good summer for you and your family. How's the things going for you so far?
So far, so good. Yeah, it was interesting. The summer, honestly, though, this is one summer where I haven't done a whole lot of stuff with Bellmont. I think a lot of schools will have more open gyms probably in the month of April than I'll have over summer, but I mean, with my kids, my personal own kids, I've been busy with their sports. So we just got going a little bit in June and here a little heavier in July. But, it's been interesting. The girls, like my high school kids, are all, 2-3 sport athletes. So they're all busy too. But just getting them back in the gym here the last few weeks, getting ready for August has been great.
Yeah. Before we talk about the program, let's talk briefly about your background here as a coach. For those that don't know you, I know you graduated from Bellmont, if I remember right, and then you coached briefly at Norwell before coming to Bellmont, I believe in 2005, I believe, which is I did mean going on 20 seasons, I believe, since you coached this program. But talk about just some your background with the program.
Well, my first official season of coaching like varsity was 2004 back in Norwell, and then I always wanted to get back into Bellmont because yes, I graduated there. Let's just say maybe my 30th is coming up this summer here, but I wanted to get back to Bellmont just because of their heritage, through the volleyball program. What obviously when I was in school here, and then I had an older sister that played, so I just wanted to get back to Norwell, kind of get it back to where it was, but. It's just something that it was a wonderful opportunity to come in, and I just came in because of my history coaching with, going to Ball State, going up, through Munciana and the legacy and all the people I had there. Just wanted to get those types of ideas back in here. And yes, I'm going into year 20 at Bellmont. So I've had a great run, a great thing, and just want to continue success. But I'm just real proud of how the culture, how the community has really gone on board with what we have going here and really supporting us.
Boy, has it ever been a great 20 seasons at Bellmont. I think you've won 2 state championships. You've been to, 5 state finals in your run as a head coach. It's been a tremendous run for your program, and something I think it's got to be worth gratifying for you, especially at one point coaching your kids.
Yeah, it has been great. I always remember when I first started, because we actually went to the Final Four my first year in 2005, back before they had just the one state game. It was back to the Final Four. But I remember just thinking, if we could just win sectional, and then, everything after that's just great and extra bonus playing time. And then after we got there, we thought, and somebody was talking to me, let's not settle for such small goals. Let's push it for going for state. And yeah, I've been lucky, to win it twice, have been runner-up 4 times. So I've been there 6 times. And I mean, it's great. I mean, it's a wonderful experience, the kids to enjoy it, but winning it is something that you definitely want to do. And we won't settle for anything less.
That is exactly why the program continues to be great as it is. Fast forward 2024, you're coming off of I believe it was your 3rd straight state finals appearance, obviously coming up just short last season. And obviously you had to graduate a big and obviously very special senior class with Sammy Christian and Haley Cole and Delaney Lawson and Jackie Suter. It's a very special class, and obviously you're feeling the missing presence of that senior class. Just how much did that class meant for your program and representing the school?
Well, I think it meant a lot. I mean, every senior class is special, and this group was no different than any, but definitely graduating 6, because you look at the 6 you graduated, it's like a starting lineup. A setter, I had 2 middle hitters, 2 outsides, and then a libero, which I could, and then a set, and Haley definitely running the setting crew there. But, I think it meant a lot, but I think the thing that will mostly be missed is just the way that they interacted with the younger kids. They did our camps and got the younger kids, the JV kids, the freshman kids, all to, look at what it takes to be, the champions that they were. And because they weren't just one and done varsity. I mean, they went, 3 years in a row, from their sophomore, junior and then senior year, just to what it shows, to what it takes. But we will be missing them a lot. But hopefully the keys they gave to the younger kids will be something that, these guys will be like, oh yeah, this is what they were talking about for practices and matches and tournament play. So hopefully that'll definitely come through when we are missing those 6, but we have the new kids coming in.
And that's the high bar that you mentioned earlier, is regardless of how many kids you graduate, you hope that the players that came before them are going to build that tradition and those good habits to the players coming up, so that this is more of a familiar trend for those fans. And I think that's what you're seeing these past 20 years with the program.
Yeah, I think so. The kids kind of buy in because they know what they're coming in for, and it's something where they want to compete. They don't want to be that group that, not that anybody could be a letdown, but they don't want to have a down year. So I think they kind of hold themselves to that heritage, that pride that we have here, that, maybe we did lose a lot, maybe we will be a little bit different, but still they know how to play and know how to compete. And that's just something, I mean, they've instilled in themselves, and maybe when they're not on the court, they know, hey, today in practice or today we're going to do this, and I'm not going to be that group that's going to be a letdown, I guess.
Yeah, fair point. Let's talk about the players coming up for this season. Obviously, when we talked about this year's team, we're going to obviously talk about Mary Kay Scheinman first off. The commit of going to Purdue in about 2 years. There's only a junior, it seems, for Miss Mary Kay Scheinman. You'd also got, I believe you got Alyssa Gumbel back for this season. You got Cam Jarvis back, and she's a player that I think is going to have a big year for the Bellmont Braves in a variety of different sports. Just kind of talk about this year's team as a whole, and what does Mary Kate bring to this program?
I think Mary Kate just brings that presence that, you in open gyms and in scrimmages we have, when she's on the court because you can see and hear the ball that she's hitting. But I think she also brings that leadership, that, somebody that's played volleyball a lot. I mean, the Purdue, commit thing was awesome for her, and something now she doesn't have to think about other, she can just play. But I think she just brings that all around. Everybody's going to know who she is, and everybody's going to be aware of her, which, honestly, I think it opens up for other kids, which you mentioned, like Alyssa Gumbels has been a Mary Kate's, sidekick through club season and through the high school season. I think Alyssa is going to be able to shine this year. You mentioning also coming back is Katie Mills. She will probably fill in that libero role now that Sammy's gone and all of the liberos I've had throughout the year. So Katie really has stepped up. She did get injured in the state finals, so she is still struggling with that back issue, but she's getting through it and going to play. Yes, Cameron Jarvis will be. She's always just one. I mean, I know she's a basketball player, but she's just an athlete that'll definitely help out. But then, filling in also, there's some JV kids that are going to finally get into the limelight. They've dressed and went with us to state. But, now's their time to shine. And like I said, hopefully they'll learn from the kids who have graduated, coming in.
Being able to cement their legacy to the program, just like what other kids have done before them. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that the 2024 class had that kind of same thing too for some of these players. So yeah, it's just kind of that, hey, this is their time to fulfill new history for this program and extend that success. I mean, you've won 40 sectional titles. Obviously something is working for the program if you're doing it as often as you're doing it. So yeah.
Oh yeah, they definitely, that's what's amazing is you just look at the history of the sport of volleyball and what Bellmont has done, but not just me. I mean, I'm just kind of the next person that's gone us doing what I've done, but just the history from 40. I mean, I think the program was started officially in 72, so I can't figure out the math there, but that's quite a long time ago. But where they've had a lot of success, and we're just keeping it going, and now it's just a little more heightened with today's media coverage and everything else. But the girls are just doing what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're going to have a tough schedule as usual. The Northeast State's one of the best conferences in Northern Indiana. You always play a lot of difficult tournaments in your regular season, particularly during those tournaments down in Muncie. Always playing against the Yorktowns of the world. Those are always going to test your team in the state tournament. But in terms of the team itself, what are some things you've liked so far? Maybe you mentioned a little bit briefly, and then maybe talk about some areas you want to see improvement. I think obviously your depth is going to take a little bit of a hit early, but you hope maybe that depth can maybe build a little bit more. But what are some things you're looking to grow as the season moves along?
I think right now, looking at the team, the kids who are probably going to fill in those varsity roles, they are just, I mean, they're all athletic and they want to show what they can do, but just, filling in, knowing what we've lost. I think I have a lot, I say depth-wise but you're not going to know who they are until they start playing. I think we have some athletes who are really stepping into the roles and really, just going to show what they can do. The other thing is, I think for us right now, the big question is going to be setting. Like the last 2 years, I lost Lauren Ross. I lose Haley Cole. Now I have, 3 setters who are kind of all going to try to fill that role, or maybe two of them will even fill in. But right now, and they all have pluses and minuses with them. So I think setting might be a question, but these kids are working hard, and they know, with the hitters I'll have, they just got to get the ball to these people. So I think, but I think the one part that I think will be really good for us is team chemistry. I mean, even in open gyms where it's the entire program, you can see kids who might separate themselves, but they're trying to include everybody, knowing that this is a team sport. So, I mean, right now there's just a lot of questions. Who's going to fill in here? But there's a lot of kids competing for those spots.
And that's very important when you're having a relatively different team. And the setting thing, it all comes down to team chemistry, how the team can gel with each other. That's so important, especially when you're playing a schedule as vast and deep as your schedule is at Bellmont. When you're playing these high quality competition, having that team chemistry is so big for your team, even with graduation being as steep as it is.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I try to every year. I'm looking for new challenges with our our calendar, our schedule, and it's not real easy. You can just pick up and drop people, but we're pretty set. We're going to stay about the same this year, but the following year might try to look in some different areas. But yeah, I don't just because. I mean, I try to make the schedule hard. I want to, as long as we're not traveling too far. But yeah. I mean, we play Yorktown, we play Avon, we play in the Yorktown tournament where it's always 4A schools. We play Hamilton Southeastern, where that's quite the program. We're playing Zionsville this year along with Hamilton Southeastern. So just big 4A schools. And, but same thing. I mean, 1A, 2A, 3A, we try to find the best teams we can play as long as they're within traveling region, we can make it to play. So that's what I think we do well, where I will take the losses. That's no big deal to me because I know tournament time, hopefully we're tested and ready when it really matters.
And you bring up a good point about the 4A schools, because now you've moved up to 4A this year due to success factor. So now you're going to have to play some of the schools in a little bit more of a challenging tournament. But hey, guess what? New challenges mean new opportunities for success, I guess, for a program as successful as yours. Final question for me. What are you most looking forward to as practices get rolling in a couple of weeks and a new season begins for you and your program?
I think I'm just looking at, to see all the improvement that the kids who, have made since last year or throughout the club season, to see what they're going to bring to, fill in those spots that we missed from graduation. But I just like getting back into the gym once August 5th starts, because to me, I mean, obviously coached a lot of volleyball, a lot of players. I mean, a lot of kids, when you look at volleyball, there's club volleyball and then there's high school. I love the high school aspect because I think kids play for this right here, play for their school. Their club ball to me is more kids are going out there trying to maybe playing for themselves, get their scholarships. But when it comes to Bellmont, when it comes to your high school, you're playing for that name of your school. And that's what excites me. That's why I love coaching high school, because you have to deal with freshmen through seniors, and you got to find a way to, take pride in your school and be successful. So that's what I look forward to. And that's what I always love about the high school season.
I totally agree with that. Final thoughts before we let you go. Any final thoughts you have?
Well, no, I just think, I know we graduated a lot, but I think we're going to still be the same. I think defensively, we're going to be fun to watch. And once these kids kind of get their varsity legs underneath them, I think we'll be somebody that, will definitely make some noise. And I know moving up to 4A, we still are going to play our same schedule. And yes, we have once the tournament starts, but still we'll get to that point when we get there. But hopefully we have the great community support we've always had, and hopefully we'll be able to make some noise in the big 4A school, because I mean, we're only a little over 600 kids in Bellmont, but we'll have a very good quality program to put out there.
So I guess the headline should be more things change the more they say the same at Bellmont. Yeah, I guess that's what you want to say.
Yeah, we might not like the changes, but according to the IHSAA, we have to move up. So we're going to do the best we can and see how it fits.
All right, Coach, thank you for taking your time to talk about the Bellmont Braves, and good luck on your 20th season coaching volleyball. Crazy how fast it goes.
Yes, I can't believe it. That's what people always ask, how long I'm going to do it. But I say I have a daughter that's a 7th grader. Maybe I'll still stick around. But I had some former players who just had like just recently had like a new baby girl. They're like, Craig, aren't you going to be coaching then? I was like, that is 14, 15 years from now. I don't know where I'll be. So who knows? I enjoy it. I love coaching. That's why I say I can have good players, good parents, bad players, bad parents, but I just love coaching. And when I don't love it, I won't do it. But for now, I'm not going anywhere.
Well, this is a great way to end this part of the show. And thank you for taking your time, Coach, and good luck the rest of the way.
All right. Well, hey, we'll look forward to your coverage throughout the year, too. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, that was a great time talking with Brian Harris of Angola, Cory Stoner of Fairfield, and Craig Krull of Bellmont. All three tremendous conversations talking about their programs as fall sports get started in roughly about a month from now. Football season will be here for you know. Volleyball season will be here for you know as well. Angola, Bellmont, two of the more successful programs in Northeast Indiana. Obviously, Bellmont, they've been here several times, and Craig mentioned this is their sixth state. Went through six state finals appearances since Craig took over in 2005. It's already been 20 seasons for him. So a lot of things seem to change in the realm of high school sports, but a lot of things still remain the same for some of these programs. And I guess Bellmont, Angola still remain as competitive as usual. And Fairfield looks to have a pretty good football team coming into this coming 2024 season. Well, normally when we do a podcast of this type, normally I'll have like a lead up to those interviews by kind of talking about some of the things we've seen from the area, any other highlights we talk about from the ANEC coverage that are worthy to mention here. So typically during the season, I'll mention how a team is doing so far in a volleyball, maybe some type of performance. Maybe I'll mention about the performer of the week, players from volleyball, basketball, softball, soccer, you name it. Maybe I'll add some things there to that. And then any other news that kind of brings up here. So I guess the one news we can take away for this week, obviously for those that know about in the basketball realm, is the departure of Chris Benedict from Whitco and now taking over the job at Carroll. And for those that don't know, Carroll had kind of a late opening because of Ryan Abbott taking the superintendent position at DeKalb Eastern Schools, which for those that don't know, that is basically East Side. And Ryan has connections with East Side. So now the position's open. Chris Benedict, who had been long rumored to potentially leave Whitco at one point or another, eventually this became official, and Chris ended up taking the position at Carroll, taking over a successful program that's going through a lot of transition for that program as they enter into the 2024-25 season, the SAC. We will talk more about the new additions as we get closer to the season. There are a few other additions for each sport that we will mention about some of them, and maybe we'll kind of highlight some things as we get closer to the new season. There really isn't a lot to talk about because this is July 21st. Not a lot to talk about right now in terms of the high school realm, but we are very excited about this new edition of ANEC Sports, having an official podcast for Around the Northeast Corner Sports, covering 30 schools in this coverage, mainly from the ACAC, the NECC, and Northeast State. One thing to mention, though, for those that don't know, Hamilton now is going to venture into their first year as a member of the Hoosier Plains Conference after spending 6 decades in the Northeast Corner Conference. It's definitely going to take some time to get used to, as Hamilton has been a part of the conference for forever for a lot of us. And now Hamilton is going to venture off a new chapter of their history. And I know they've just hired their new girls basketball coach that for some reason it's drawn a blank at the moment, but obviously we will talk more about the new additions and the new coaches and whatnot as we get closer to the season. We'll talk more about these teams specifically as we get close to the start of the new season. But obviously on paper, when you look at volleyball, Angola, Bellmont have to be up there once again in terms of competing in their respective conferences and competing for a sectional championship. Even though they got a lot of new faces, when I say new faces, I mean we're talking about there's still a lot of good athletes on those two schools, but obviously it's going to be a different looking roster in terms of where each player is going to fit in the lineup. And obviously these two schools are going to have difficult schedules. They're going to test them in the state tournament. It's going to be interesting to see how does the realignments of the sectional formats impacts those roads to the state tournament. Obviously for the 4-class sectionals. Volleyball is going to be the first one that we talk about right now, because that's the first one that's going to have a major impact because of the realignment changes that were done by the IHSAA by dropping more of the 4A schools into Class 3A, more of the lower tier 3A schools into Class 2A. And so now you have less schools in 4A and more in the 3A, 2A realm of things. But obviously it's just new challenges, but still the same excitement for those kids. We talked about Bellmont going to 4A in volleyball, Lakeland going to 2A for volleyball and basketball as well. East Snowball now drops to 3A along with East Snowball, Columbia City, DeKalb, New Haven. Those schools are now part of Class 3A. Huntington North still a 4A school as usual. And it's going to be an exciting time to talk about sports once again. And we'll more football related as we get closer to the football season. I'm excited to get to know some of these new coaches as we get closer to the new season. We will definitely get Stratton Fuller on to talk about his commitment to Army in a later episode. I know I've already talked to him and he's ready to go. So we will have that, and we will let you know when we will be able to talk with Stratton Fuller about his commitment to Army, and we'll find some other players that maybe we get to talk about their adventures and how they were able to commit to where the process of recruiting went to with their respective programs. A lot of excitement. New year, new era for ANEC Sports. Same old coverage as usual. I don't know why I keep doing it, but it's fun. And without you, the fans, none of this is possible. So thank you. Thank you for all your support all these years and all the support you're going to give throughout this year. And obviously with changes in my life means new ways to bring that content to you. It's just going to be just a new routine, new habits for me to create, and obviously just new ways to deliver the information for you. If you made it this far, that means you're a great fan. Good job. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video. Let YouTube know that ANEC Sports is a destination for you and for other fans out there that want this type of local content. Thank you. I'll see you next week on a new episode of ANEC Sports Podcast. And don't forget, we are still doing the lecture videos on the history of the area conferences. I just went through the NECC and the NEIC. If you haven't checked out those videos, please do so. They've already posted on the official YouTube page at ANEC Sports. This week, I am going to venture to the Northeast Hoosier Conference, and maybe by next week, maybe I'll get into the HCAC. Maybe later that next week, but obviously got to get to Northeast State as well. But that's all I have here for today. Thank you for listening or watching for a lot of you. I'll see you next time.